welcome to another episode of Us Anxious Folk. Today's episode is another interview episode, which is so exciting, and we are going very international for this one. We're speaking to
Yeah.
Alex all the way from Madrid in Spain. And Alex is somebody that I met through Instagram, and he is just one of the most supportive, lovely humans. And every time I feel ashamed or scared, he is there with this incredibly supportive message. So I can't wait for you guys to hear his gems as well. So hello, Alex.
Hello, Lauren. How are you?
Good. I'm very good. Thank you. It's so nice to see you in person, even though we've seen Instagram pictures.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
to you. Yeah. Well, I saw you in YouTube videos, but you didn't
Yes.
see me, so
Yeah. Yes. It's the weird thing about knowing people on Instagram or from YouTube is that you get this sense that you know them really well. And I guess you
yeah,
know me quite well in a lot of ways that, my work colleagues and stuff don't. So it's an
yeah,
interesting relationship, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So I want to get started straight off the bat with your anxiety story because, there are lots of elements of this that I don't know. So tell me your story.
Okay. Well, firstly, I want to talk about I have always been a very self-demanding person, and I think that it's in conjunction with being a little bit predisposed to feelings such as anxiety or depression or anger may have contributed to the development of my toilet anxiety problem.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, it was a traumatic experience which triggered the outbreak of my disorder. It was this day I was like 14 to 15 years old, more or less, and I had a very big meal. I ate like a few starters, a typical Spanish dish that included rice, seafood, spices, everything,
Yes,
and
all the
dessert.
all the bowel
All
aggravating. Yeah.
yeah, all the aggravating stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then after eating this pile of food, I went to play football with my friends, with not much time between the two events. Like such a fucking great idea.
Yeah.
So it was this like when we were playing, I started to feel a little bit sick in my stomach, but I didn't give it too much importance. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, it doesn't matter. Unfortunately for me, the sensations started to feel more and more unpleasant and more intense. So I told my friends that I was going to come back home because I didn't feel right.
Hmm.
Then, in my way home, I suddenly crapped my pants.
To put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was rushing in panic. I went to hide in a wasteland that was near me,
Hmm.
and I called my father desperately, calling for help.
Yeah.
Like, can
Yeah.
you come here to bring me to home, please?
Yeah.
And fortunately, or unfortunately, I don't know, nobody saw me when this happened. Like, only my father saw that. Isn't such a such a big thing. And anyway, it felt awful. It was traumatic, really,
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm.
awful. So, past a year or so of after this experience, I started feeling anxious about different situations, which included like going in public transport, exams, or anywhere I couldn't control the time I could access the bathroom,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And this fear got worse and worse until I had two panic attacks in Madrid, and my mother came here from Ibiza to save me,
Mm-hmm.
literally.
Mm.
And after that, I came back to Ibiza. It was the first year of my psychology degree, and when I went to Ibiza, I was put into psychopharmacological and psychotherapeutic treatment. I was already in psychotherapeutic, but not in psychopharmacological.
Mm-hmm.
And this treatment, like the therapist I still go to, is like you, like an angel fallen from heaven.
Thank you. I'll take
that
that.
that have that have helped me so much, both you and my therapist.
Hmm.
And well, now I am out of antidepressants. I took citalopram when I was taking medication, but I'm still going to therapy.
Hmm.
But anyway, now I think I'm really able to live a considerably functional and well normal life.
Yeah. Yeah. I see you living a very functional and incredible looking life. You have a beautiful girlfriend and you work out and you know, I mean, I know Instagram only shows snippets, but from the
Yeah,
outside,
that's
you
fine.
you
Yeah.
don't seem to be holding back, which is great.
Yeah. Well, all of us have experienced setbacks, and with this COVID stuff, it
Yeah.
was awful. I mean, as agoraphobic people, when you're like obliged to stay at home, like I think we, all of us, were like so secure in our comfort zone, and we were obliged to be in our comfort zone.
Hmm.
So it was a really bad setback in relation to my toilet anxiety issues, and
Yeah.
agoraphobia, social phobia. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. So can I ask you know, you mentioned agoraphobia, you mentioned social phobia. Did that all come around after the toilet anxiety incident? Was it all sort of produced from
yes,
that one experience?
yeah, absolutely. It
Yeah.
was the whole thing has been triggered by that. The whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
My therapist also thinks that my personality traits, like being very self-demanding, being a little bit like neurotic. Neuroticism is, for the people that hasn't heard of the term, is a personality trait that consists of emotional instability, like being more predisposed to, well, more prone to feeling anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
and feelings like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, that's me.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
I'm Lauren, I'm neurotic. Um, but the thing that was interesting to me then when you were telling your story is that it starts out as a funny thing. Um, you know, kind of the way you're telling it is like this humorous thing that happened. And I think now, especially because you have some distance from it, you're able
Yes.
to sort of talk about it in a more lighthearted way. But then you can kind of see where that turns as well, and where it became an experience for you that was, like you said, so traumatic. um
Yeah, yeah,
and it's interesting to me, like how we can have those two people inside of us, this one person who thinks that, you know, crapping your pants is just, I mean, most people, it happens to them at some point in their life, whatever, but then we have this other part that
that's right.
just can't cope with it.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I mean, I think that the capability of being able to talk about it in such a humorous way, like you said, sorry, comes from a task that my therapist told me to do, and it was so beautiful. I really, well, it was so difficult, but the result was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a task where you, as an adult person, had to write a letter to the traumatized Alex that
Mhm.
was rushing in panic when he crapped his pants.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a letter where you had to write like support messages, love messages, and ideas that would help that person to rationalize more,
Hmm.
and like feeling of it like a more natural thing, a more
Yeah. A human
not
thing.
a human thing. That's right. I
Yeah.
mean, now that you say the word human, I this reminds me of the video I told you about, where you
Yes.
say I was like in some of the my upset days where I was not feeling very great, and I was like, well, let's see Lawrence videos, and I went to watch. I think that it was your second video about toilet anxiety, your second update video,
Hmm.
and the part where you said, "Stop beating yourself up for being human."
Mm.
I broke into tears. It
Oh.
was, I mean, but it was in a really beautiful way because I needed someone that truly understood me,
Hmm.
or with what I felt, because my therapist, my family, my girlfriend, my friends, they all support me, but
Mm.
they don't truly understand what I live every day.
Yes.
And you do,
Yeah.
you know. And that angel falling from heaven telling me everything I needed to hear from someone else.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was like
Yeah.
very beautiful.
I'm glad. Sometimes you just need permission from another human, you know?
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so I love your take on all of that, and I think that's a um I have to say, when you and I first started talking, I was still in a place where I didn't want to talk about it very much. Like, I'd come out and made this
Mm,
video because I knew it was important, but I also was still really ashamed and embarrassed. And so I
mhm.
was quite, like, I guess I held back a lot. Whereas now I'm very vocal about it and very open. And that's actually been
Yeah.
helped by you and, other people who are open about it as well. So we each give each other space to be human, which
Yeah.
is so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm so
yeah,
glad of it. Yeah.
yeah, me too. So I want to ask about the psychology as well, because you did mention that doing a psychology
Yeah,
degree,
okay.
which is incredible. I mean, I can barely study at all. I can't even do math. So the fact that you're doing a degree is incredible. Um, but
Thank you.
so I think you were already studying psychology before the anxiety. Is that what the timeline was?
Well, I was like, I told you that I was a very self-demanding person, and
Yeah.
these expectations about me like really came from everybody else telling me, you're a great student, study, do sports, like you have to be perfect. They didn't really tell this to me, but the an underlying message was that,
Yeah.
and that was right, like really growing these excessive expectations in my mind,
Hmm.
and like I firstly was going to study medicine, but in my in here in Spain we have like an exam when you finish your secondary studies, where you have to you try to have the best score so you can access to the university you want, to the degree that you want.
Hmm.
And fortunately, I didn't get this score for doing medicine,
Okay. Yeah.
and I got this score for doing psychology, which
Yeah.
was my dream. I
Yeah.
mean, if I did medicine, it was mm, the whole point of it would be being a psychiatrist,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't want to spend like 6 years of general medicine and then 4 years of specializing myself in psychiatry.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to sacrifice the other things in my life to being a psychiatrist. And the psychology degree, I mean, it's a 4 year degree where the whole point is focused on the human mind. And
Yeah.
I was like, I want to do this.
Hmm.
And even if I, because if you're clinical psychologist here in Spain, you can't say to your patients, take this medicine, take this antidepressant, take
Yes.
this. You
Yep.
know, you only can if you're a psychiatrist. But I mean, with mental health, medicines are really important. I'm not saying that they aren't, but if you don't uh, use medicines as a tool and focusing in
Hmm.
psychotherapy, the patient isn't going to improve that much.
Hmm.
Like sometimes medicines, like, I don't know how to say it. Sorry, I'm going to
That's
look for it.
okay.
Okay, like camouflage. Is it?
Hmm.
You know what it is?
A camouflage, so like a
Yeah.
disguise.
So like medicines camouflage your mental issues, but
Yes.
they don't really get healed. I
Hmm.
don't know if I'm explaining myself.
No, perfectly. It's they're not
Okay,
the answer 100%. They're not going to cure you.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. They may help quite a lot. I mean, they help me so much with
Hmm.
my improvement in
Hmm.
my toilet anxiety issues and all that. But the restructuring of my irrational ideas, exposing myself to the situations that scared me,
Hmm.
telling my loved ones what I was going through, that was, well, those things were the ones that really helped to heal me and to
Yes.
improve in my issues, my mental issues.
Yeah. I feel like the medication maybe gives you a bit of space, and
Yes,
then you
absolutely.
can go after the thoughts and the behaviors, whereas
Yeah.
if you don't have the medication, I mean, you can do it without the medication, but it just gives you that little bit of extra breathing room.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So with the psychology, I mean, how are you finding that in terms of studying and also having an anxiety disorder yourself? Is it a whole other level of learning? Like, do you find things that you learn and think, wow, I can apply that to myself?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, with this whole thing of studying psychology, like the desire to being a clinical psychologist came from my experiences with anxiety, with mental problems.
Yeah.
And it was like all the therapists I have been treated by have helped me quite a lot. And I had a feeling like I want to be this man in the future.
Yeah.
I want to help people who suffer from the same thing as me.
Hmm.
And well, obviously, anyone who has any kind of problems with their own mental health.
Hmm.
And it isn't like I'm in depth with psychology. It is more of a vocational orientation than
Hmm.
feeling obliged to do it. So it's such a beautiful commitment.
Yeah.
And also, I think with the the things you said about uh, understanding myself more with studying psychology,
Mm.
I think it has helped me and is helping me so much to understand things like my thoughts, my emotions, my
Hmm.
personality, my behaviors, everything.
Hmm.
And I'm extremely happy to with the pathway of preparing myself to being in a hospital or any sanitary context where
Hmm.
I'm going to help people. I mean, that's my dream. That's my whole dream.
Yeah, yeah. I think I mean, I already said this to you, but I think you'll do beautifully at that, because you have that depth of understanding that um I think is so invaluable. And like you said, you don't really hear things unless they come from someone who you feel has been where you have been,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that.
That's
But in terms of the doing such an intense subject, I know you had exams recently that you were telling me about. Um,
yes.
Things like exams for something like toilet anxiety, I mean, I know just even putting those two together can cause dread in so many
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Because you can't really leave the room, right? Or I guess
Yeah.
any stressful event, any time where you think I'm not going to be able to use the bathroom frequently here, is when
Hmm.
your, I was going to say but your brain decides to just say now's a good time to just explode, you know? So
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And maybe, well, sometimes your butt does too,
yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah, but so
the whole
talk
point,
to me about that, the exams, and how do you manage the stress and the toilet anxiety?
yeah, okay. Well, exams are the worst part of the
I love that
of
you don't
studying. I
sugarcoat it.
mean, yeah. Yeah. And like, well, however, I have improved pretty much in regulating myself within being exposed to this situation. And now, like, I have less things to worry about apart from the exam, which is really nice, you know.
Yeah.
And when I was at my worst stage in relation to my toilet anxiety problem, like, I had to take a loperamide pill. You know what's
Yes.
loperamide?
Yeah, like
Well, for the,
a Imodium type pill.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
So my gut didn't worry me while I was doing the exam, but the problem was that I took it even when I didn't really need it.
Hmm.
So I knew that that wasn't right, and I had to measure out myself
Hmm.
more in that aspect.
Hmm.
So then I was improving with some of my fears, some of my irrational ideas, etc. And I began to expose myself more to these scary situations, like not taking loperamide before going to the exam.
Hmm.
And the first days, as every fucking exposed therapy, are like catastrophic,
Yeah.
are awful,
Awful. Yeah.
awful. But then when you are more and more exposed, it becomes like great. It becomes satisfying to feel able to do what you wanted to do and
Yes.
couldn't in the first
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So mm, the anxiety feeling became more of an acceptable feeling than a crippling one.
Hmm.
And I mean, the exams made me a little bit anxious, but I mean, as almost everyone feels like that in the exams.
Hmm.
So it was the anxiety is like beneficial in some way,
Hmm.
even though it sounds paradoxical. I mean, there is like this curve that relates anxiety with performance, and evidence suggests that the sweet spot lies within a moderate level of anxiety.
Hmm.
I mean, when we feel nothing, like being totally apathetic, our cognitive resources don't have the same strength, fluidity, speed to be focused on the cognitive task
Hmm.
uh, than when we are a little nervous. Also, when we are crippled by anxiety, a vastly high level of anxiety, our emotional health overcomes our rational one. So these cognitive resources are like all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those of us who sometimes have thought, what is the fucking point of feeling this way?
Yeah.
Well, this is it. I mean, we are more predisposed to focus and to act quickly when we are a little bit anxious.
Hmm.
If we never felt anxious about anything, we wouldn't survive. I mean, anxiety is necessary, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Anxiety is, as you said in some of your videos, is your body trying to tell you, I don't want you to be hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be in danger.
Hmm.
I mean, but obviously, this emotion can become maladaptive.
Yeah.
And when that happens, we have to reteach our primitive brain that the things that it is scared of don't represent such a great threat,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the end, anxiety is absolutely necessary. And it's a an adaptive emotion, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love flipping the perspective on that because, there are so many uh, like memes and sayings to do with anxiety, saying like your anxiety is lying to you, and
Yeah,
you are not your anxiety, and all those kind of phrases that have never sat right with me, because I feel like there is so much of our anxiety that is valuable and useful.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
learning how to find that sweet spot. And so for
Hmm.
you, would you say getting to that sweet spot was a matter of just repetition with exposing yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Also, I mean, exposing myself to the well, you do exams like in psychology, you do exams two times per year. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one time in January for uh, the first term,
Yep.
and the other time in May for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So you are not much exposed to it because you do it two times per year. But I mean, my whole life I have been doing exams, and it was more of the restructuration. I don't know if I'm saying it
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah. Restructuring.
Of
Yep.
restructuring, yeah, that of my irrational ideas, like feeling the need of going to the bathroom so unnatural when it is quite a natural thing. I think that was the things that really helped me
Mm-hmm.
to bring my anxiety levels to a more moderate range.
Yeah. Okay. So if you, because honestly, on the YouTube, that the toilet anxiety videos, a lot of the questions are related to school and
Yeah.
exams and toilet anxiety. And for someone like me who has been out of school for quite a while, I don't feel exactly qualified to comment on that. But so what would your advice be for someone who, is dealing with exams or just with school in general? What would you say is a good way for them to get to that sweet spot?
Okay, so well, something I did when having exams and really helped me was like now I do it every day, but I didn't do it at that time, and it was before going to sleep, doing I mean 10 minutes or 5 minutes sleep meditation,
Mm-hmm.
like a guided audio meditation, and that helps you to get in a more deep stage of sleep, which is going to help you to be more focused, to have a better performance in your exams, and also to be less anxious. I mean, when we have sleep, when we feel healthy, when we do sports, when we do all of that things, all of those things, sorry, um, we feel better. We don't feel that anxious anymore. We feel a little bit less,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps so much to bringing your anxiety levels to more moderate range, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And well, also, I mean, if you feel that your anxiety levels are interfering with you having a functional uh, life rhythm or a more normal one, you you have like therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists who are willing so much
Mm-hmm.
to help you through that. I mean, that is a
Yeah.
resource that we all have there, you know.
Yes. There is help out there. It's just a matter of asking for
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And I think honesty with that as well, because I went to quite a few therapists and I would dance around the issue of toilet anxiety. And I'd say I just get really anxious, but I never actually explicitly said, I'm really terrified I'm going to shit my pants.
I
So,
was exactly the same,
yeah.
exactly the same as you. Yeah,
But so they can't help you if they don't know what the
yeah,
actual fear is, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I'm sure they've heard it
absolutely.
many times before.
Yeah, I was like the first time I went to therapy. I mean, I told my therapist that, well, exams make me feel anxious, because I don't know if I'm going to have good score,
Yeah.
a good mark, or. And it was like the third session. I was like, well, I have lied to you during this whole time, and my fear is about shitting myself, not about doing wrong an exam or something like that.
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
was like, well, okay, thank you for being so brave to tell me that. So thank you for being for feeling trust to
Mhm.
me on
Mhm.
telling me that. And
Mhm.
then it was so much better when I
Yeah.
obviously when
Yes.
he knew what it was really about.
But it's one of those things that, I mean, you spend so much time thinking about it and it's like it haunts you, and so you never really want to say it out loud because
Yeah.
you're just drawing attention to it. And it's, I get why you lied about it initially, because yeah, I was exactly the same. But so, in terms of travel, because I know that's something you do as well, a fair bit of.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah,
wish I was in
quite a
Spain.
lot.
Just hearing you say Ibiza and Madrid, I'm like, man, I want to go to these places. Um,
You
but
need to come. You need to
oh,
come.
I would love to when Melbourne finally gets out of lockdown, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
but so tell me about that and toilet anxiety, because that again, that can be such a big trigger.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, traveling isn't a situation that scares me that much right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Well, in the first stages of my toilet anxiety development, it scared me. But every fucking thing apart from being at home scared me. So,
yes.
it was like. And anyway, when I started to think things like, well, there are bathrooms in airports, and so there are in planes,
Hmm.
then I don't have to feel scared of it.
Hmm.
Or if I am not sitting in the corridor seats in the plane, it is okay to ask the people next to me if they allow me to stand up because I want to go to the toilet. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a natural thing. And it was the understanding of these things and doing them, of course, which made me feel safer and more comfortable while traveling.
Hmm.
And I mean, this reminds me of an effect brought up by Myers in 2006, which he's a social psychologist.
Hmm.
And that is named the like something like the spotlight effect. It consists of this feeling of being emotionally naked to the other people.
Hmm.
Everyone has felt this way sometime, but it's really an irrational idea that stays far from reality. I mean, people don't have magical glasses that describe thoroughly your feelings.
Yeah,
Obviously, they may detect if you're sad, if you're happy, if you're angry, if you're nervous, but they won't know why unless you tell them about it.
yeah, yeah. So you're saying
So,
that, say for example, you're sitting on a plane and you're not in the
mhm,
aisle seat, and you have to say to that person next to you, "Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom." I know for
exactly, yeah.
me in the past, the thoughts I've had is like, you're going to have an accident and everyone's going to judge you and everyone's going to laugh at you.
Yeah,
But what you're saying is those people have no way of x-raying into your head and seeing all those
exactly,
terrified thoughts.
exactly.
Yeah. But so what?
They may, sorry,
No, go on, go on.
they may detect. I mean, they may, but not in a 100% certainty level.
Mm.
They may detect. Well, maybe this person is a little bit nervous because you are like. But you told. Well, you said in one video that you were so good at hiding your
Yes.
your emotions while feeling panic or while feeling anxiety.
Mm. Yeah.
But I'm not that great at it, so they may detect that I am feeling a little bit anxious, but it isn't a bad thing. It is a natural thing also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, what do you think the fear is there? I mean, when it comes to toilet anxiety, I was always scared that, I'm going to be embarrassed, but I know there's so much underneath that as well. And what have you found for you is that what's that major fear?
yeah, I mean, Is the fear that you said in your toilet anxiety video? Absolutely. I mean, it's a fear of judgment. It
Mm.
the Seeing yourself is the superficial aspect of the fear,
Yeah.
but feeling scared of people judging you, uh, laughing at you,
Hmm.
not respecting you, not helping you, that is the whole point of the fear. I
Mm.
mean, I think toilet anxiety is more of a social phobia thing than toilet anxiety itself.
Hmm. Yeah. I think a lot of it is too. What's interesting to me is that I had toilet anxiety before I'd ever had any kind of accident. It was just the
Yeah,
fear of it happening. But then it was the year before last, I think I actually did crap my pants when I was sick
yeah,
one
yeah,
day, and it was in a
yeah.
McDonald's, so it was very public. Um,
Hmm.
but even after that, I still wasn't like that experience wasn't awful in the way that I'd made it out to be.
Yeah.
It was
Mm.
uncomfortable and it was a bit yuck,
Obviously, yeah.
but
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
didn't have all that shame with it that I thought it would have.
Hmm.
So it really is like
Yeah.
you're saying, it's just the act of actually having an accident, crapping your pants, peeing your pants, whatever it might be, is just
Hmm.
this carrier for all the shame that actually is beneath it. Like you were talking before
Yeah.
about the shadow self, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not much of a fan of psychoanalysis. It's
Yeah.
like psychology current
Yeah.
that talks about unconscious impulses and
Hmm.
unconscious um, processes.
Hmm.
But there's this idea of Charles Jung. Charles Jung is a psychoanalyst that is, as you said, the shadow self. And the shadow self is like a part of ourself that involves our rejected and repressed parts,
Mm.
you know? So that this fear of judgment and being laughed at and all these things, I mean, we do not fear the judgment of others itself. We fear what we are going to make that judgment mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I'm unlovable or I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. We're really just a bundle of assumptions about ourselves, aren't we? At the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to talk about oh hang on. I just lost my place there. Sorry. I wanted to talk about your daily routine. And I'm kind of hoping there's going to be something about, working out and getting endorphins going because I know you're a fan of that and I am a big fan of it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm such a great fan of working out. I mean, I I do martial arts. I love martial arts, and I also like doing resistance training with weights. But with this COVID stuff, I'm can't do martial arts as I wanted. I mean, I only do them when I'm in Ibiza in summer because of the holidays of the degree
mm-hmm.
with my friend, because we both love martial arts and we do them in my house
Mm-hmm.
in like a room with tatami. And you know what a tatami is?
No.
It's like a mat. Sorry,
Oh,
a
right,
mat.
right. Yeah.
Tatami is in Japanese.
Yeah.
And we do MMA there,
Mm-hmm.
but always with control, not hitting too hard,
Yep.
with focusing on technique. And it's such a great feeling. I mean, martial arts have helped me very much in being more self-confident. Not in a way like I know how to beat the shit out of people. No. I mean, it's like I know how to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in a problem with someone, I mean, in the street, that someone that I love is involved, I know I can get in. And the last resource would be to defend ourselves physically,
Beat the
and
shit
I
out of
think
them.
I could. Sorry.
Beat the shit out of them.
More or less. But yeah, I think I would be prepared for that.
Mm. Yeah.
And also, I have always been a very protective person with the people I love. So that goes very well along with my personality. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, sorry, I am.
Oh, good. Love it. I love hearing about martial arts.
Okay, perfect. um I mean, before having mental issues, there are things that I have always done that help me feeling better. And some of these things are, for example, having an organized schedule
Mhm.
and doing sports at least 3 times per week. And also, I think that apart from our daily routine, knowing ourselves more really helps with doing things that uh, do well for us. For example, I know I'm a really extroverted person, so contact with others, hanging out, and partying are are things that make me feel great, but
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I am relatively neurotic, as we said before,
Yep.
So I may feel a little bit overwhelmed in some of these situations.
Mm.
But mm, I know I have to try some tactics to regulate myself, because in the end, I really enjoy those experiences,
Mhm. Mhm.
even if I'm scared of them at the beginning.
Yeah.
So
So it's again finding that sweet spot, right? The balance.
exactly. It's always about finding the balance of your emotions and
Yeah. Yeah.
and well, talking about my daily routine, I from Monday to Friday, I wake up at 8:30 in the morning. I go down to the cafeteria of my residence to have breakfast, and well, then I come back to my room to make my bed, brush my teeth, clean my face, because with the fucking mask thing, I have developed a little bit of facial acne.
Yeah.
So I have to treat it. And then I study approximately 2 hours from 10 to 12, more or less.
Yeah.
After studying, I go to the gym on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. The weekends and Wednesdays are my rest days.
Yeah.
And next, I come back from the gym, get a cold shower, not warm, cold showers, because, for example, cold showers also help with things that we may feel scared of. I mean, cold showers have so many benefits, like improving um, your defenses,
Mhm.
your immune system,
Yeah.
feeling more with more energy,
Mhm.
uh, etc. And they, like, when you get a cold shower, it is some of exposing yourself to something stressful,
Yeah.
you
Something
know
discomfort, uncomfortable. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. And when you are exposing yourself to something discomfortable, stressful, it may transfer a little bit to the things that you're scared of.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that maybe that experience helps you with that, with feeling less scared of things. You feel more confident. I mean,
Yeah.
you feel capable of being exposed to an stressful situation.
Yeah. 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 I think that would translate really well into other situations.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay. And well, next I go to have lunch with my friends in the cafeteria as well. And lastly, I go to the university from 3:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., more or less, depending on uh, the um, the timetables of the day.
Yeah.
They depend. And then after classes, I come back to my residence. I have dinner, and I give myself some free time there to watch like series, movies, to watch videos on YouTube. a little bit of free time to disconnect from everything else,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And finally, I go to bed somewhere near. Well, sorry, every day, as we said before, I do this sleep meditation
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes before going to sleep, and it helps so much
Yeah.
with having a better sleep, with getting slept before,
Mm-hmm.
well, with falling asleep before. And at 12:30, more or less in midnight, that's when I go to bed and I mm, go to sleep, because I try to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day,
Mm-hmm.
because if I don't, I'm like awful, you
Yeah.
know.
Me too. Hot mess.
Hot mess. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You stay up later, much later than I do, but and I tell you what, you're a lot more regimented than most people I know, and I find that very admirable and very soothing as well that you have this schedule. Um I don't know, I think that a lot of neurotic people, anxious
yeah,
people would
hmm,
benefit quite a lot from having, some kind of structure to their day.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, well, when I was at my worst stages with my toilet anxiety, I was very disorganized because I didn't care about other
Yeah.
things. I mean, I was mentally feeling horrible,
Yeah.
But then when I started improving, I was like, well, let's work the other aspects of my life.
Yeah.
And having a schedule for people that are really responsible, neurotic, I mean, that combination is awful. But, well, not awful, not awful. I mean, to understand what goes along with your personality, you
Yes.
know
Yeah.
that's why we have to try to understand ourselves more, to know ourselves more. And
Mm.
for example, I know I'm extroverted, neurotic, really, really responsible. That's
Mm.
why I know that being organized, having a schedule, studying every day, doing sports is going to help me feel better, like
Mm.
mentally and
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I find that sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed, I'll just, without thinking about it, I'll tidy something, like I'll organize a cupboard or something, something
Yeah.
random,
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
just say I'm just doing housework, but it actually helps me to feel more structured in my head. It's like if your
Hmm.
surroundings are a mess, your head's a mess, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And this is a question that I ask everyone because there's some gems that come out here. But what is your advice to somebody who is going through a really, really hard time, with their anxiety, with toilet anxiety, perhaps social anxiety, just feeling like we've felt, where they just don't know where to go.
Yeah.
What would your
Yeah.
advice be to them?
I think that for the people that are scared of judgment, as we were talking about before, I mean, if you don't talk to anyone about what your feelings are in relation to your fears, to your phobia, or everything, you will always feel that they are going to laugh at you. They are going to judge you. They are going to abandon you. I mean, but when you take a step, and obviously with someone that you have trust, that you love, that you are comfortable with, talk openly about it. It's going to help so much. I mean, with this taboo stuff that we have to tackle, being open about it breaks down so much barriers in our mind about fears, about irrational ideas,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's
And
very important.
mhm. yeah, and also as I now I know that you do this as well. The sense of humor with this stuff really helps quite a lot. I mean, telling jokes about shitting your pants, about not about not feeling well.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the most awful experiences, I know it is difficult, but when you know how to laugh about a problem, it becomes much smaller.
Yeah.
It becomes more. Um, uh, I don't know how to say this. More bearable.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And trying to make jokes about my issues, my toilet anxiety problems with my friends. I mean, it has helped quite a lot on relativizing the problem.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. My one of my very good friends has a bowel like mine, and he, when he gets nervous, he is in the toilet for hours. He just
Yeah,
can't stop pooping. And he's in a new relationship, and it was his birthday the other week, and his new girlfriend bought him a coffee mug that's in the shape of a poo because she's like, I'm like, she knows you so well already, but that's because
yeah,
he's open about that. And
yeah,
I I love that. I love when people are just open about something so natural and so human, and something that
yeah.
literally every single one of us go through daily.
Exactly, exactly. We all go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yes.
There's no human being that doesn't go to the toilet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the most human, natural thing,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
And it shouldn't be
And
something that holds you back.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's
Yeah.
lovely. That thing with your
Yeah. Yeah.
coffee pot with your friend. That's lovely.
I just thought it was great that, so early on in their relationship, it's like, let's just laugh about this, because that's,
Yeah,
like you said, it
yeah.
makes it bearable. It takes away some of the pain. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, humor is uh, we have studied it. It's confrontation mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about fears and phobias and all this stuff,
Yeah.
humor is a really strong confrontation mechanism that
Okay.
works really well.
I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
I love that. I wonder if it does it take it to like a different part of our brain, or you know what I mean? Like, how
It's
does it?
like there are different mechanisms, and there are the ones that work better in short term and
Mm-hmm.
the ones that work better in long term. For example, when we evade ourselves from our fears, for example, watching a movie, trying to not think about it, it works good
Mm-hmm.
in short term. When
Mm-hmm.
you finish your movie, when you finish evading yourself, you're going to feel the way you felt before
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
you know? But these mechanisms are focused in shutting down the emotion,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not shutting down the problem.
Yeah.
And the other mechanisms that work better for long term are the mechanisms focused on the problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And for example, making jokes about it is really focused on the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also make jokes about feeling anxious,
Yeah.
but it's going to help us well.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. I feel like I just got a free psychology lesson.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm still not a psychologist.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm still not a psychologist, but we have studied little things
Yeah. Yeah.
till up to date.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on this episode. I personally got so much out of this, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. There's so much value
Yeah, me
in
too.
your, even just in your experience. If you didn't, if you weren't doing a psychology degree, there's so much value in just the insights you've had along your journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
I mean,
Good.
I am a fan of you, Lauren.
Yeah. Thank you. I also just want to extend a thank you for doing this in a language that is not your first language, because you've
Yeah, it
been
was a little bit
incredible.
difficult, but thank you so much.
Talk about like anxiety provoking. It's like, hey, can you do a podcast interview in a language that isn't your first one? Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing job. Um,
thank you.
if someone wants to get in contact with you after the podcast, can they message you on Instagram or?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool,
I'm absolutely open to talk to anyone with any kind of problem to give them support or whatever they want, you know.
amazing. You're so lovely. Thank you very
So was
much.
you. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you for listening to the Us Anxious Folk podcast, the podcast for the chronically overwhelmed, perpetually panicked, anxious folk in all of us. If you would like to find more about me, you can find me on YouTube at Lauren Rose or on Instagram at LaurenR_Rose.